From the Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
Young men have fallen faster than any demographic in America over the last 40 years.
It's a different world now. Like, we don't need men the way that they used to.
Nobody needs men!
The future is female.
Men and women are drifting further apart, and society is crumbling because of it.
A fascinating debate has broken out about the value of marriage.
You've kind of got the trad-con versus red pill thing.
This men's rights crowd that sometimes just goes too far the other way.
You need to stop acting like grown boys and infants and actually become men.
Marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond.
It's a machine designed to extract resources from you.
Now many of the red-pilled have taken the position that it's bad for men to get married.
Hannah Pearl Davis, or just Pearly things.
One of the most controversial faces in all of the internet.
She goes on to say that marriage is a terrible deal for men.
Because if me and you were in a business contract, you would never sign a contract where I am paid to leave.
Gee, what could go wrong there?
74% or something of divorces are initiated by women. Men have everything to lose, primarily their own children.
Men get killed by the courts and by divorce laws.
I had no idea that courts of family law were courts of equity, not courts of law.
Because in family court, you don't need evidence to accuse someone of abuse. You need no evidence. When you guys say get married young, a lot of these men don't know what they're signing up for, and you're not going to be there when their entire life falls apart. I interview them on the other side.
I didn't meet my son until he was 15 months old.
How much did you spend trying to get him back?
On legal fees alone was about $200,000.
Before you know it, you're homeless. You're literally just thrown out onto the street.
We absolutely reinforce bad behavior from women.
Wives are taught to leave their husbands, and then daughters grow up without their fathers.
Family is the foundation of society.
Every problem in society comes from single mother homes.
A lot of women will just chase this negative rabbit hole of happiness, endless happiness.
Feminism's biggest failures is it lies to women. We tell women to date as many guys as possible. We tell them to put off family into marriage.
You are allowed to leave your perfect husband. You are allowed to end a relationship with a really great boyfriend.
Oh, freeze your eggs, have an abortion. What? You're evil.
I don't think there's anything else in life that we actually ever go into preparing to fail. Right. Like, if you have the mentality of this is going to go wrong and be pessimistic, naturally the outcome is going to be that it's going to fail anyway. Yeah. It's self-sabotage. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
This myth that we live in an age of male privilege. Where's my male privilege?
They think, well, men have all the rights. They have all the power.
Privileged patriarchal system that we have.
Why doesn't our society care about men's rights?
I have no friends.
No wife and no social life.
Men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns.
I've seen so many men on the brink of suicide, and they didn't do anything wrong.
How are you equal if the men are the ones that have to fight and die to defend the country? The men are the ones that build and maintain all the infrastructure.
Women are helplessly dependent upon men.
The so-called deaths of despair from suicide, overdose, or alcohol, 3 times higher among men than among women.
Culture is telling men you are no good.
You got to get your act together.
I think men have failed themselves.
What kind of a man are you? What kind of a woman are you going to attract?
If men are in trouble, so are women.
Everybody knows this is a huge problem, but nobody wants to admit it.
Every single woman at the table said they wanted a man.
500K.
500K. 300K. 200K.
Am I crazy?
Everything is really set up against you to fail as a man.
If men make less than women, women don't want to marry them.
So you know who wants more economically and emotionally viable men? Women.
I don't want to be an independent woman anymore.
I don't want to be a strong, independent woman.
I'm over it. When is it going to be my turn?
Where are we meeting the men that don't stop?
I can't keep having these same conversations.
The only simp here is you, Pearl. You simp for men.
I think you said for women.
She's a provocateur. She says stupid stuff, but Pearl is right about this.
It's already happening. It's just not out in the open yet.
Now it's just hookup culture is going to be our fairy tale ending because men don't want a wife and women can't find a husband. The future, if everybody follows your path, is there is no future.
We go into population decline, and our economy goes into decline.
Civilization will crumble.
The American story does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
What up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. That is our trailer for the divorce documentary, which last show we got $400 worth of donations. Woo! We're trying to get to 100K, and we're recently at $31,897. As you guys know, video production is expensive, so hit that donate button if you can, and for 20K, man, I'll let you guys add in a personalized message to your ex-wife. So if you have something you want to say to her, hey, you can go on my divorce documentary. All right, so what are we talking about today? Today we are reacting to Jeff James, and he is a licensed therapist, and he's basically cooking these feminists. Cooking. All right, so let me play this. I think he said around the 17-minute mark. Also, guys, we are back on the App Store. So if you go to theaudacitynetwork.com, we are on the App Store. And if you want to join our community, you go to pearlinvite.com and you can apply to be part of our members-only community. It's a one-time lifetime fee, and then you're in it for life. So, all right, let me do this. Okay.
So if I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no. If I'm going to disagree, I'm going to disagree. And men not going through the natural maturation process as teenagers, as early adults, because they literally don't have the opportunity to with women. We can't be shocked anymore that there's an environment that's festering of boys and young men who unfortunately have a strong distaste. And I would argue, not even for women in general, women in the Western cultures and countries.
Yeah.
This is why they're running to the other countries and cultures where men are at least still seen as valuable, relevant, important.
No, I think I will break a point.
Yeah.
I think that like anything in the West, to redress any imbalance in anything, we've had to go to some crazy level to the other side and come to a middle thing. And
the only thing I have to say to my ex is, damn, you got fat. Well, that'd be pretty funny. Imagine. So Steve M in the chat. Hello, let's say your name's Diane. Hello, Diane. I have a message from Steve M, and he wants you to know that you look like a beluga whale now. And he's glad he got out when he could because he got you when you were thin. And good luck to the simp that puts up with that. That would be pretty funny. That'd be a pretty good... I'll drop it to 5K, this show, PayPal me, hannahpearldavis@gmail.com. Send me a PayPal this show. It's in the divorce documentary. It's in the, I know you guys are thinking, Pearl, why do you charge so much money? Look, guys, do you know what it costs to put a documentary? Do you know what this stuff costs? I have to hire editors, producers, lighting people. I know what you're thinking, Pearl, but you in England, you said you were working at Will. We were. I had one guy that messed it up. I'm going to be honest. I made one bad choice that wasted money. You know, sometimes when you're putting something together, that was one. Two, the second issue that we had was that I got demonetized. So now we're raising money for it. In a few months, I might be able to put it together myself, but I'm not supposed to say that, but yeah, okay.
Why are we so surprised? Why do we have to have shows like Adolescence that, quite frankly, are pretty late in the game in terms of culture? We're very late in the game. And like you said, I talk to quite a lot of my friends, who are all parents, and they had no idea I knew about it because I'm doing this podcast and I see these comments all the time, and I was very aware of it. I've read a lot about it. They had no idea about it. And I'm like, you have teenage children and young adult children. How do you not know? How are you that ill-informed? I agree with you. To me,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you want to know what's crazy? When you're in a market and environment where both parents got to work long hours.
I started it too far ahead. I thought you said 17 minutes. Okay, where do you want me to start it, Doug, MPA? You said at the 17-minute mark it got good. Where am I going? All right, I guess I'll do the 2-minute mark. Not seeing it.
In today's culture for men, which we do not.
I'll get rid of the welcome.
So what was the first reaction when you saw the show Adolescence, which is like based in incel.
I understand why it's extremely appealing. I understand why it's going viral. I understand why I believe it's the 3rd most watched show on Netflix history after being out for such a short amount of time, which is crazy.
How big of a deal is it to be demonetized? Mark, I had to fire everybody and move home. I worked for free for a year and a half. Do you know what that does mentally to a person? If you've ever been unemployed, at least you have free time. Anyways.
But it's wildly off in most ways in which they try to categorize what's actually going on. I'm being honest with you. And the problem with it is several things. But the first is they clearly did not use an expert on incel culture. Any expert go on YouTube when you get the chance and type in incel experts review Adolescence and see all the data they have in comparison to how the show tried to cover it to a degree. And it was only 4 episodes, so there was only but so much, of course, that they could do. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I loved and I think they did get right. And it was very subtle, and I don't know if people actually picked it up enough. The first is when the 2 detectives were walking through.
This is a rattlesnake raid? Oh. Tell Jake I said thank you.
Yeah.
And they're trying to engage with the students, and it's very clear, like, they're just missing it. Students aren't saying anything. Nobody's really wanting to work with them. Like, they're just getting all this resistance. They're not really getting anywhere in terms of their investigation. And the lead detective, after he talks with his son, and his son talks about the red pill, and he's asking his son, did you see the Matrix? And his son's like, what's the Matrix? Like, what are you talking? Like, and they captured the confusion of people who aren't in it.
Yes.
Won't do this for a living, who aren't psychologists, who aren't psychiatrists, who aren't in mental health, who aren't in these spaces. Even people who are talking about it all the time. If you're not in it, you don't actually get it. When I talked about that mountaintop thing, you don't know what it's like to be considered invisible and useless to both men and women. You don't get it.
Damn. See, she's like, I don't care. Because women will always be useful to some degree because you're a whole. Someone will do it.
You don't know that feeling. I don't care if you're the most unattractive. If you saw the show, what was it? My 400, 500-pound life or something like that, with these people, where they got to get cranes and break down doors to move these people. Why all these women got men?
Oh, that's funny.
Great question. I've always
because still, as a woman by default, she's still going to have value with some man.
Wow.
But at a certain age.
She's still, but again, if the first 60 years of you living, you're seen as valuable to somebody, that matters. Versus in comparison, you can go your entire life and be considered a genetic dead end.
That is actually so interesting.
Yeah.
So on the show, these are lead detectives whose job it is to learn, to question, think of things on multiple levels. And they had no idea that there's a subculture of bullying and ostracization amongst not just boys doing this to each other, but on social media, other people who you may not even know also saying things about you, also targeting you. And it's not.
Yeah, and it never ends. I mean, there's that kid who committed suicide because his nude got leaked or something to someone in Nigeria, and they extradited them and put him in prison. That's amazing.
Just the bullying and the tactics. It's also the shaming. It's also the rejection. It's also being seen as invisible. And it's a very, very, very hard way. It's a very hard concept to try to describe to people who, for most of their life, or they have yet to experience what it means to be invisible since they were 14 years old.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know what that feeling is. And I thought the show did a really good job of the parents didn't see it.
Yeah.
The detectives didn't know it. But the second piece I thought they got really great was when they found out, oh, snap, the kid's being targeted, the kid's being bullied. The victim apparently was a contributing member of this, and she was leading the charge. And the things that she would say and the viciousness of how they were treating this boy, I'm not going to say what he did was justified. Spoiler alert for those who didn't watch the show. If you didn't, it's your fault by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But the callous response that the woman investigator had when he tried to bring it to her attention, like, I think there's more that's going on with this case. And she said, I just want the attention to be on the victim, on the girl. And what I would suggest is there were two victims. It's just that one died.
Right.
One lost their life and one lost their freedom potential.
Well, you notice that whenever women die, it's always the national headlines. But when men die, no one cares. People don't have a lot of sympathy when men pass away, really.
For the rest of their lives. And what happens is that small little snippet is an example of the larger pool of what's going on. Yes, he did something wrong. Yes, he's the murderer. Yes, he needs to be incarcerated. I agree with all of that, obviously. But the environment that created someone like that, we're so oblivious to the realities and perspectives of what young boys and men are going through. You don't get it that for many men, they don't see feminism. Doesn't matter if they don't have the great working definition of it. Their experience of all these people who claim that identity, you don't actually care about equality. That's a woman advocacy movement, or at least was up until recent debates about who can or can't be a woman. But prior to this debate, it's always been, for many people, and particularly many men, it's more so a women advocacy program, which is totally fine. But you cannot say that you care about men and that you're advocating for equality. And I'm going to list these things off, and I wrote them down to make sure I don't forget it. You don't care about mandatory paternity tests. You don't care about paternity fraud. You don't care about male suicide rates. You don't care about equalizing hard, laborious jobs outside. You don't want to equalize that. You don't care about what happens to people that are falsely accused, which is almost always exclusively men. You don't actually care about the declining school performance, the rise in ADHD diagnosis, and the psychiatric medication that comes from it. You don't care about the lack of homeless shelters for men. You don't care about the weaponization of the family court, the equal custodial rights, reproductive say for men, reduction in child support and alimony, pathologizing of just men and masculinity in general, negative attitudes towards even men that want a nuclear family. You don't think or care about any of these things. And I'm not even saying it's just the feminists that don't care about it.
Nobody
I'm saying most people who don't do what I do don't care about this at all. And you're creating, and we talked about this 80-20 rule. What's happening to the 80%? You don't care.
Not good.
And the beauty is if I just get the man I want, if I just get the partner I want, if I just I don't care about what's happening with men. Let's bring the attention back to women. That's what the detective did in that show.
Right.
And that is what society in Western cultures is unfortunately like. Most people only care about males or boys or men if they are their brother, their son, or their father, or their uncle, or their close friend. This society in the quest to be fair to women, to improve their rights, allowed the worst representatives to take it to its furthest extreme.
Right.
When we talk so much about misogyny, most women can't tell you what the term is for a strong distaste and hatred for men. What's the term? What's
Misandry.
the misandry? Being a misandrist. Most men's experiences that we keep labeling as incels, we keep labeling as misogynists, their experiences in coworker situations, in the schools, dating, on dating apps, is that a lot of women are either misandrous or they're so reductionistic of men that if you don't have the money, you have no say and you need to shut up. And even if you do have the money, it's happy wife, happy life once I'm in your life. I done told my wife, we joke around about it all the time. When we're amongst other couples and friends, she sarcastically say all the time, the one thing I appreciate about Jeff more than anything is he's the same exact person in home as he is in public. He doesn't change. So if I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no. If I'm going to disagree, I'm going to disagree. And men not going through the natural maturation process as teenagers, as early adults, because they literally don't have the opportunity to with women. We can't be shocked anymore that there's an environment that's festering of boys and young men who unfortunately have a strong distaste. And I would argue, not even for women in general, women in the Western cultures and countries. This is why they're running to the other countries and cultures where men are at least still seen as valuable, relevant, important.
No, I think
he just cooked. Oh my gosh, and they don't care. They don't care at all. She's got at least a little bit of sympathy eyes. This woman does not care.
I will break a point. I think that like anything in the West, to redress any imbalance in anything, we've had to go to some crazy level to the other side and come to a middle thing. And why are we so surprised? Why do we have to have shows like Adolescence that, quite frankly, are pretty late in the game in terms of culture? We're late in the game. And like you said, I talk to quite a lot of my friends, who are all parents, and they had no idea I knew about it. I'm doing this podcast and I see these comments all the time, and I was very aware of it. I've read a lot about it. They had no idea about it. And I'm like, you have teenage children and young adult children. How do you not know? How are you that ill-informed? I agree with you. To me,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you want to know what's crazy? When you're in a market and environment where both parents got to work long hours, and both parents are out of the home for extended periods of time, and both parents have to figure out so much, and you don't even have one parent that's like really super involved, versus they both are kind of got 40-hour work schedules, and one may have to do additional overtime, and the cost of living is exploding. It's harder than ever before.
Oh yeah.
For parents, men and women, fathers and mothers, it's a lot harder now. We are living in an area in New Jersey where our property taxes per month is the cost of most people rent across the world.
Yeah.
Where our daycare is more than the cost for daycare for 1 to 2 kids is the equivalent of what 50 to 60% of people in the world make. So it's
women
kind of difficult.
Women don't want to watch their kids. They got to make as much as their husband to feed their ego.
Be super duper involved and actually know what's going. You know what she saw? My son's home. He turns the light off when I tell him to turn the light off, and he doesn't get in trouble. He goes to school every day. He gets good grades. Parents are just surviving. Mothers, fathers, people are just trying to figure this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is. I'm not saying it's a complete. Like, there's no. They get no fault. They get no blame. I'm just saying that the context for what we're in is what's also creating this type of dynamic and environment. So it's. And then lastly, I meant to say, the dynamic. Why is this exploding? And why is it so big in the UK? And why are these government officials getting all involved in this? I'm going to tell you this right now. If you are a young
How did I not get arrested in the UK? I don't know.
woman, or woman period,
I'm a woman, right?
and you're thinking about, well, oh my gosh, this incel thing, and all these men want to harm me and hurt me and do this or do that. A huge percentage of the boys and men that feel that way, there's a reading why they're leading the statistics of being 4 times more likely to take their own life.
Right.
They're actually far more of a danger to themselves
than to anybody else.
Even in a relationship. You take a woman who's in a relationship with a man and a relationship with a woman, her domestic violence rates is significantly higher with another woman than with a man.
Really?
DV rates are up. Divorce rates are up when same-sex relationships between 2 women than her with a man.
I know. The highest divorce rate is lesbian couples.
Yeah, and so is the DV rate.
What's the D?
They should be having the most orgasms. That's unbelievable.
Domestic violence. DV rate.
Right.
Yeah. So again, this show is so popular, it's so big, probably 250,000+ people are probably going to watch it. And now they're again adding to this narrative that the most unsafe you can be is dealing with and doing life with men or males. And what I'm arguing is a huge percentage of them end up taking their own life. A very, very small percentage of them, if they get successful enough, end up finding a suitable partner, or they're going abroad to find a
Women are actually the passport bros. Most female travelers are women. So
a woman who can meet their needs. So it's not to say that there's violence between men and women that doesn't exist. Of course it's a thing. All I'm suggesting is that the show, there may be ulterior motives for why the show is being pushed.
Yeah, they want to demonize the red pill. It's the same reason I'm put on a DHS watch list. Me, of all people.
Whenever politicians or celebrities or anybody who's not a normal person jumps in on a wave, always be wary of what's the thing that they're pushing and what's the policy that's going to come down as a result of this. Is this going to be a social media crackdown? Is this going to be a monitoring thing where people have to register their social ID numbers or something in order for them to even have access to a website or have access to the internet? I'm going to argue this. Prime time, it's perfect to push something like this in a political environment when Gen Z and some millennials between men and women are splitting further than they've ever been. And then you have a huge pool of women who are looking for explanations to justify why all these men are splintering off and voting differently than us, thinking differently than us, going their own way.
Yeah, we're not nice to them. If you've treated men like shit for 20 years, we get surprised when they respond to open misandry.
Marry women. There's got to be some explanation for it. And it can't possibly be because of our decision making, our hierarchy of what we're attracted to and not attracted to. It can't be us. It's got to be because they're all incels.
Right.
It's got to be because they just outright hate women. It can't possibly be because there's been an environment that's been telling them that we hate you. Can't possibly be that. It can't be society or culture or the colleges or liberal. It can't be any of those factors, or even how we treat the men who we think don't check off all our boxes. It can't be none of that. It's got to be because of this Netflix series, and now we need a policy to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's the level of thinking that I want all of us to start to get better at when we watch anything on social media, anything on streaming services, because I would argue much of the things that's impacting us and influencing the quote unquote gender war is not even coming from in here. It's coming from what we're seeing on screens and on these computers. When I walk around in everyday life, men and women still open the door for each other. A woman's in trouble, men are still going to rush to help her.
Yeah, that's going away. But yeah.
A black man, a white man is hurt in some way.
At this point, we almost have more interactions through phones. I think over 50% of communication is digital now.
whoever the race of the person is, they're still going to try to intervene and help them. I'm trying to lift a heavy box. My white neighbor going to come and lift it up. Somebody who's gay or trans, if they need help or support, it's still happening. Hate exists, I know that. But I'm telling you, the social media, the trends, what's going viral.
But the challenge is young people, that's their reality because most of their interactions are digital, at least half.
Actually 100% a reflection of what's actually happening in most of our lives. You're actually not walking around and most men are spitting at you, calling you names, attacking you. That's not happening in modernity, not in mass. The majority of a huge percentage of the men that's a threat, they're arrested, they got records.
No, absolutely. Like, I think obviously social media makes it look like everyone is out to get you. And that's why we're having so many problems.
So now adolescence, as true as it is about exposing something that a lot of people didn't know, what's the takeaway?
That this is happening everywhere.
This is happening everywhere. It's crazy. It's so much going. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. The U.S. and our thing of violence, we have the monopoly, it seems like, on school violence. It's insane. We're not using knives. We're using guns.
Yeah.
And much of it is in response to being bullied or being radicalized with some particular political or religious ideology. That's usually what it is. It doesn't make it any better, but it's really not heavily connected. No, there is no significant data that shows that this is happening in mass. I'm telling you, if you went to the data and looked at UK stats of who's the primary groups doing the stabbings and the knifings, it's not who you saw on the show.
Right.
It's not who you saw. We don't have to go political or go into who is and who isn't doing. It's not who they showed on the show. You have a market of white males who feel so angry and disenfranchised and feeling like they're...
I can't imagine why. Liberals have told white males that they're not valuable and they're the root of all evil. Where people are just jealous of white males, to be honest. They're jealous because they're really high performing and they do well. They do. They're intelligent. They're good at problem solving. Yeah.
Blamed for everything, and they're not allowed to hold an opinion, not allowed to hold a view. And now you're shocked with the reactions and responses of what's coming. And it's not even all violent. It's just a noticeable shift. And in the end game, everybody can say, well, we're all going to lose in the end.
You say digital friends are not real friends? Well, look, that's how Gen Z's meeting. You might not like it, but that's how... I feel like you're my real friend, Guy Fawkes. I'm just kidding.
The mountaintop is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. Mother Nature's undefeated. The men post 30 who can figure out how to get what they need in order, physically, emotionally, financially, they have the leverage. The most leverage a woman's going to have is when she's her fittest, youngest, most fertile self.
Of course. 100%. I say this all the time. Because I hear so often, oh, women are the gatekeepers of sex. And you're like, they are when they're young. When they're young, but you start to, I think women sort of 30, 35, you start to sort of, it's not that you're not attractive, but you're not attractive to the same age as men, whereas men can look up or down all along. Whereas women, the older we get, we can only look up in age or down in age. I mean, I always say to my husband, if I, God forbid we wouldn't get divorced, but if we got divorced, he could find anybody of any age. And it would be a younger woman. Absolutely be a younger woman.
He said he's a lawyer, right?
Yes, he's a lawyer. He can marry who he wants.
What are we talking about here?
Exactly. No issue.
Be a lie.
Exactly.
There's be a lie. It don't matter how he look. It don't matter how he dress. When they hear lawyer and they hear widow, oh, he need food. He need.
Exactly. Oh no, it's true. Whereas I'd have to marry an 8-year-old
for sure.
And Michael would be like,
I'm also marrying an 80-year-old, by the way.
I'm not
That's my
saying there's
plan.
anything wrong with
No.
that, but
Here she go.
but it changes. But anyway, I mean, we could obviously go on forever talking to you. There's so much to talk about.
I know.
There's so much to solve.
I wanted to go back for 1 second. Did you finish all of your thoughts on the cheating? Because we may have skipped a bit.
I definitely prepped for this part because I figured this question.
Let's go. It'll be our last little segment of the show because we've already gone over an hour, which I love. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
All right. So the main thing I'm going to say is I'm careful to avoid what's called a naturalist fallacy. And this is the false belief that because something is natural, it must be moral or good. So I just kind of put that out there as a qualifier with what I'm about to say. There's something called like a blank slate theory or socialization theory. And it's basically it's the debate about nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who consider themselves feminists, they have a working presupposition or theory about human beings, men and women, and human sexuality. And their belief system is rooted in this. When you lean much more into nurture versus nature, anytime you see distinctions, differences, sociological reactions or responses for whatever reason between men or women, you're going to believe that you can socialize it out of them. And that's what it means is if you don't believe that there's biological, evolutionary hardwiring that's built into us to be attracted to desire, to do and behave in certain ways, you're going to believe that the sex that's not doing what you think they should be doing is because you can socialize them to now act like the other sex.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. The reason why that's important with this topic and all others is because there is a version of femininity that believes any distinction, even when it comes to sex, is something that just has to be completely 100% socialized and changed out of men. And that as long as men start to behave, communicate, think, and act like women, they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to sex, they'll insist that there is no innate psychological differences between men and women. They'll functionally believe that because they're psychologically the same, we should have the same expectations. This is the issue. There's physiological differences. And the physiological differences some are very minute, but then some are massive, with huge implications. These are some of the differences that I noted. And obviously, naturally, we know that there's differences between men and women, grip strength, speed, upper body strength versus lower body strength. We know this. Like, generally speaking, there's physiological differences.
I don't think women or men are really meant to be monogamous. Unfortunately, because if women were meant to be monogamous, then we wouldn't be such whores. They said, do whatever you want, ladies. And we said, whoredom. Whoredom. So we'll see what he says.
Physiological differences.
Sorry, I'm trying to give more commentary, but I'm very drawn into this. This is good.
When sex occurs and when they have orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to question I'm going to have a question once I list these off. And the question is this, actually. Do men and women experience sex, and are the consequences they experience from said sex the same or different? These are the things that I noted that were different. Men tend to have higher sexual desire and are more accepting of casual, non-commitment based sex. Sex hormone amounts and patterns are different.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Between male and females, the hypothalamus, which is the region.
I'm being honest, and I don't mean to be disagreeable today. I think men want relationships more than women. I really do. I know more men that want commitment than women that want commitment. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's because out of necessity, possible. Women are meant to be monogamous. Well, if women were meant to be monogamous, why are they fighting to be whores so bad?
Brain involved in sexual activity is both larger and more sensitive to testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Men tend to experience quicker and more intense sexual arousal and orgasms compared to women. Research shows that women's sexual desire has more variables and is influenced by factors like self-esteem, relationships, emotions, and how they feel about their bodies, the relationship and overall emotional state, social consequences of clear communication of their desires in the domain.
Now you guys are saying, oh, feminism made women be whores. Well, okay, who pushed feminism? Oh, it was the elites. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Sex, especially sexual. So think of it this way, because that one could be a little bit confusing. If men were bluntly or straightforwardly honest about how often they think about sex, about the different ways that they think about sex, about the different types of women that they want to experience in terms of thinking about sex, if they were honest about how they felt sexually, are they rewarded for their honesty?
No.
And then lastly,
That was quick.
Reproduction evolutionary drives for men or women. You are the product of thousands, if not tens of thousands of years of one side of a person or one set group trying to survive and procreate and mate select in a certain way. And the other group, you're the product of a person who kept people.
Now, what are women's consequences for STDs? They're saying in the chat, women have more consequence. Well, not really, because men keep fixing them. And women just lie about having them, so not really a consequence.
Throwing their seed.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is going to be like, well, wait a minute. If there's all of these evolutionary, biological, physiological differences, and men and women clearly don't even experience sex, let alone orgasms in the same way, I don't know. Actually, I do know. But I'm just saying it facetiously. I don't know that in the quest to be like men, that's actually been a net benefit to most women, especially after 40, 50 years of this experiment. That doesn't mean that men are justified to cheat. It seems to suggest that at least their biological hardwiring has designed them to better be able to be okay with doing it.
Right. I mean, I totally agree.
Have you seen how women are cheating these days? I don't think we're the same, right? But I do think women have some biological predisposition to be whores. Like they got a benefit out of it biologically. So, yeah. Someone said you talk too much for a woman. You need to work on that. Why are you here? Why are you like what? This is a pot. Okay. You know what? I'm practicing radical acceptance this year. It's a nice comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Like men are built to sex.
We're both built to have sex, but men are better built to do meaningless sex.
Right.
Have you seen women no. Women, I think women are built to have meaningless sex too. It's just they have to do it in Cabo or Dubai or some other country.
What came with the sexual revolution and liberation, we have to acknowledge, was the opening the door.
Pearl, do you have perfect peace? I don't. I really don't.
Loveless sex.
Mm-hmm. Well, men are built to populate the earth.
For commitment-less sex.
Mm-hmm.
And men are biologically hardwired to be better built with doing that on a regular basis. And nothing feels like wrong for him to do it. He doesn't have to know your name.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to know anything about you. He just has to find you attractive. There's so many more social cues. There's so many more cues that a woman is it safe? Is if something happens.
You'd be surprised. I talked to them on Twitter. They're now showing how to get women to do a date straight to the house. So.
Is he going to harm me in some way? There's so many other things that's innate in there. No one had to tell her these things. And so for me, it's less about whether it's right or wrong. And it's more about in the quest to be progressive and modern and this and that, are we ignoring biological reality at the potential risk and demise of women? I would argue that the greatest victims of this experiment that we've been doing, loveless, commitmentless sex, recreationally, number 3 on the list is the men who can't get access to it. Number 2 on the list are women who are single and can't find a suitable partner, who are looking for long-term commitment and monogamy in a market where the men...
Yeah, but women only look for that later. Like, we don't look for that when we have the most choice. So that tells me that we don't really want it like we say we do. We're just whores. Slut.
Who get the...
Who's doing dates to the house? Look, if you're hot enough. Well, that's what I was saying. Women, if you're hot enough, they'll do the same thing. They'll just be ready to bang.
Don't have to give that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 on the list is children. You don't even have to be a celebrity. You have guys that look like me whose experiences with women will rival kings and monarchs from previous times before they turn 30 or 35. That's the reality. You're in a market where things are not equal. They're never going to be equal. Our equality starts and stops with our value as human beings. I'm not equal to another man. So what made you think like there's men who do way better than me, make way more money than me, is way more respected, and men that don't? We're not equal. We only are equal as human beings.
Yeah.
Nothing else about what we got going on makes us equal.
Mm-hmm.
So when you try to be equal to a man and you try to dictate what's going to happen in this market, I'm going to be honest with you. You got 2 choices.
That's what I don't understand when women say a partnership, because that would imply you guys are equal and you're not.
Part of the other reason for why some men will cheat is because they don't have the option to do so. What's the reward?
That's when you see, that's when you see men crash out a lot of times where they have like a midlife crisis or whatever because they didn't know they could have banged all these hot women. Men hate missed opportunity. They'll think about it for years.
For the guy that no woman is checking for. You don't have the option. You don't even have the option to cheat. No woman checking for you. You're not that attractive. You got lucky with getting with some woman who wanted to settle down or settled for you. And part of the reason why you're so faithful is because it's fairly easy when you don't have women that's constantly trying to poach you and steal you from your wife or girlfriend.
Sure. What about the men who are like actively, even if they aren't like, let's say not bad.
Mm-hmm.
What about those men who are actively looking and like cheating is hard nowadays because people consider cheating as porn.
I think it's harder to get away with too nowadays, especially women. We're crazier than ever and there's more evidence than ever. So it's tough. You can like put trackers on people's cars and like a bunch of bullshit.
Cheating and talking to someone else on social media. You know, there's a lot of layers of cheating nowadays.
Yeah. I would say this, and this is going to be funny because my group, we talk about this stuff all the time. As a woman, part of the reason for why it wasn't ultimately just your decision in the past was for this very reason. Because if you had to make it, let's say 100% of men cheated. But 100% of men are going to cheat or have the capacity to cheat. 100%. And this question is, are you going to give one man 10 chances? Or are you going to give 10 men 1 chance? The amount of women who will say that they would I'm done after the first time. Every time I don't tolerate it. I don't this. I don't that. What I'm suggesting is going to sound kind of controversial. You only have 3 options when it comes to mates with men. The man who probably doesn't have the option to cheat, and the man who does, and the man who has the option to cheat. You have to make a decision of whether or not you're going to stay. There's men that probably will never cheat on you. They won't have the opportunity to.
You're working at McDonald's.
Ain't no women going to try. That women go give him the time of day. He plays video games all day. He don't go nowhere. He don't do nothing. He doesn't check all 8 of the 10 boxes that women are looking for. Chances are, or if he's extremely religious and extremely disciplined, and if you don't want the guy that most other women don't want, or if you don't want the guy that's ultra conservative or ultra religious, you got to deal with the men that potentially have the option to cheat. And then you have to decide between that group, is this the type of man that I'm willing to give my name to, give children to, marry, and stay with, even if something like this happens? That's the choices.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that you're probably 90%.
But we want it all, damn it.
percent confident won't, and the guy that may or may not, and you got to decide if you're going to stay with. What's the guy? It's going to sound horrible, but what's the man that you're willing to saddle and set yourself up with, to where either he doesn't do it, if he does, you'll stay, or he does, but you'll never know or find out about it. Cheating in private.
That's the only option now.
Cheating with play. Cheating with play. Like, the whole point I'm making, it's a stark reality is you're in a modern world where the pool of men that you're even interested and attracted to, you have a global market of competition of women who also think he's attractive.
No, I agree. Like, it is a very weird place that we're in right now because people have so much opportunity to date. And in my experience, dealing with a lot of men through all ages, most of them cheat. And so it is very interesting to me when I see a man who doesn't cheat or has no interest in cheating. And that was like my ex, who was seriously a very kind man. And he is, if I say so myself, he is one of the top guys. He's good looking, he has a great job. He had no interest in cheating. But I think well, I know, obviously, but I think he's abnormal. I don't think it had anything to do with me. I think it was his.
It usually doesn't. Because it still is his decision at the end of the day if he wants to do it, regardless of what you're going to do or not do. But you got to remember, he's still an ex.
Said it.
What I'm saying is that didn't help him.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things,
right,
that didn't ensure that you would stay.
You're right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Men keep asking with monogamy, what do I get out of this? And they keep going.
That's the thing that I don't
how do we know he didn't cheat? You dumped him and she said he was a great guy.
think. What's the best way to say it?
Oh, just say it anyway. We can take it.
We'll see more on our audience, but yeah.
I think she's feeling him on the right. He could hit. He's going to get all this social media fame. He's newly married. He might regret that. I don't think he will. But I'm just saying that's going to be a whole bag of temptation when you get social media fame. These women they throw the punani at you.
So many of the bad boys, so many of the cheaters, so many of the guys who constantly are running through women were at one time the dutiful good boy. A lot of them, you aren't born a bad boy. You see who gets the attention. You see who ignores you. You see what happens when you get a little taller, get a little more bass in your voice, grow a little bit of a beard, and the dynamics change. Totally. You see how they change towards you once they suspect or see that another woman is interested. You're seeing this stuff, and if a woman's ex, all her exes cheated on her, do you know the hell I'm going to go through to try to be the guy who does everything right, and the crap I got to go through. And I'm like, well, what is this thing where all the guys who do an X, Y, and Z, they get all the options? There is this thing of, like, even when it comes to attraction traits, you all value experience. We don't. So
Experience in like sexual experience, yeah.
So when he's a virgin, I don't care how admirable he is. If you found out he was a virgin, had no experience with women whatsoever, he goes down a couple points instantly. If he finds out you only had 1 or 2 boyfriends, oh my gosh, I got to get her off the market immediately. You don't want to know, listen, you don't want to know the number, but you're paying attention to certain things and knows, oh, he has a few exes. He has some women that are his girlfriends that he's cool and comfortable with. He's very comfortable around women. He's very charismatic. That only comes with practice.
For sure.
That only comes with experience.
So you're saying, should men cheat because it doesn't matter if they don't?
I'm saying that what you're labeling and calling cheating is labeling an aspect of reality that was a market that was artificially created by the women and their standards. So, for instance, if most modern women in Western countries demand monogamy, and many human cultures throughout civilization actually was okay with polygyny.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they factored this part in and you don't.
Yeah.
The consequence is going to be is you keep leaving for cheating because he's not allowed to have a second wife or girlfriend.
Mel hates cheating. This is her favorite topic in the world.
Which is fine, but I know that if you were born 500, not even 500, if you were born in another culture, another time, another civilization, you probably wouldn't have the leverage to be able to demand anything about this man is going to be with me and only me for the next 60 years of his life. He gave a dowry. He was a king. He was a monarch. He was very wealthy. He had this or that. And him having 2 concubines or your wife number 2 or 3, that's just what it was. I'm not saying that was good, but that was the part of human nature that people from the past and tradition accepted as a reality. When you are a blank slatist,
maybe that's why we're such hoes, because the concubines probably serviced a few people, right? I'd imagine it wasn't like you were a monogamous concubine.
your reactions and responses to something that clearly they're more designed to be able to do way more easily than you can is going to trigger you to constantly want to divorce, leave. Now I got to find a new guy to sleep with. Now I got to find a next partner every year. How many men do you want to do this dance with before you make
infinite? That's women's answer. Infinite men. Because like it never ends, you know.
One of the 2 major decisions. I need to get with a guy who's not going to cheat and stay with him. Or I need to get with a guy who potentially could cheat, but I'm going to stay with him because he checks off all.
And not be a bitch when he does it. Not be crazy.
The boxes that I'm looking for. The guy who is extremely good looking, extremely tall, makes all this money, and is also going to be faithful to you for the next 50 plus years of his life. So what's the percentage of it?
We'd have to look it up.
If 1% men is just based on height, weight, height, and salary, he's 1% of 1%.
No, it's very interesting.
So listen, that ex, don't let me call him, because I fixed it. I say, listen, man, she gonna fix it. Y'all good. She forgave you for whatever. The reality is things change, and that's just it. And I don't want to say it's justified. It's just I've seen this story.
He's not going to come back. If he's a hot guy, he's got too much punani after this divorce. He's done. He's like, see ya, like a chubby 6, 5, 6, probably 5. She has like a good face, but yeah, she's chubby. So she's probably actually a 4 with the weight.
and I've seen it's in my community as well, and it's where it's most highest divorce rate, lowest marital rate, highest rate of single mother households. Everything is skewed and horrible. And all of these women are coming back out there, older, more kids, more jaded, man after man. At some level, you can't listen. You can date women. You could be by yourself. You could date a man that nobody else wants, or you could date the man that you know everybody else wants, and whether he does tactfully do a little something on the side, you're not leaving. But I
mean, it's definitely a hard thing because women really don't want to look stupid, right? And so if we are dating a man who is hot and like we're just hoping that we're like crossing our little fingers that like he's just not going to cheat. I think the biggest thing about it is like women really don't want to look like we don't want people to feel bad for us. Like, and so if our community knows that we're with a guy who's really,
it's got to be in a different city
looking, but he's cheating on us, like because now we're able to leave. We're most likely not going to stand for that because we can't take the.
It's the embarrassment. It's more than the cheating. It's the embarrassment.
Opinions of other people that are negative.
Yeah, it's true.
As women.
I'm going to say that there's pros and cons to caring so much about a bunch of people pay your bills. And guess what? They got cheated on and now they alone. They getting cheated on.
Being alone is better though.
Yeah, you said what?
Maybe being alone is better though.
Okay, but I'm assuming these millions and millions of.
And based on women's choices, it is. Yeah, like women don't like men as much as they think. That's the reality. Women do not like men as much as we originally thought. We don't like being around them. We don't like them as much as we thought. Unfortunately.
Views and likes and sharing of content of them saying how hard it is to find the right man and how lonely they are and how upset they are and how they regret their divorce. I think two things are true. I think that there's women who are genuinely okay with being on their own. They got peace. They're fine. They're not looking for.
I think after they've had kids and they've fallen in love, they're cool with just sharing alphas forever. They are. Will just smash the chat in the nursing home or whatever. Because the thing is, women like that exciting, like, new sex. It's not just you guys that like the hot new sex. Women like the hot new sex too. So and I've talked to guys that date older women. They get to a certain age. There's like one, I call him an older Chad. He's like 70 or something, 60. And he was talking about how he runs through the 50-year-olds and they're great. He told me because he said they've let the dream die. They've just accepted they won't find love and they're just ready to get right to it and hook up in the car. The lady in the pic has more options than her ex-husband, no matter his look or status. A lot of men are desperate. Right, but in the female mind, we don't care about all the options. It's just the options that like we see. Unfortunately, I don't say it's like we only care about the opinion of alphas. Sadly enough. Yeah. These old cougars are sexual predators. Yeah, he told me he loves these 50-year-old women. He said that was amazing.
And they're cool. Like they don't want kids or like that exists. There are people like that. A huge percentage of women are not.
100%, yeah.
And the social factor of constantly trying to measure what you're going to do with your life, your marriage, your life.
I know he doesn't even have to pay for the hotel. He just has to pay for the car.
Good and financial situation based on how other people who don't pay none of your bills, who aren't going to do much for you and can't fulfill your needs in any of these other categories. Listen, the harsh truth is if fathers and uncles and male role models had more say, had more influence, and were respected enough to even be asked their opinion, none of this would be new information. Mm-hmm. They would tell you there's this group of men you probably want to avoid and stay away from. And there's the group of men that
Yeah, that'll make him want to have sex with the alphas more. Truly.
To cling to.
You tell a woman to stay away from a boy, she's going to fuck.
no matter what. And this is how you identify them. Do not spend your teens and your 20s chasing all these men that's going to do all these things. You're probably never going to be able to have a man that successfully checks off 10 out of 10 boxes every season, every year for the rest of your life. So when he loses his job, when he has a slip up, when he has a down season emotionally, when he's not the best father, husband, partner, he forgets some special occasion. You have to find a man that you're willing.
Not women raised with good fathers. Untrue. Women are women. This is such a cope. Like, men saying that they can control their daughter's outcome is such a cope. When she's 18, it's out of your control. I've seen good kids, good dads have daughters that gluck the whole town. It just is what it is.
To deal with the rigors of life, even when he doesn't always live up to all 10 boxes. Because guess what? You don't check all 10 boxes.
No, that's absolutely.
Melanie checked off all 10 boxes.
Melanie does.
Right? But the point I'm making is, remember what I said about that 70-80% initiation breakup and divorce thing? It's not because women are checking off all the boxes and showing up in all the ways that they agreed that they would. It's just men are still willing to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I said something to my wife. She was so mad. I've said it in public settings. She cussed me out. She came back and said, and now when I say it in front of other people, she's like, you know what, y'all? He right. What if we viewed when you get in a relationship with a man and y'all are going to be monogamous, right? And you agree that the only person he's going to have sex with, both now and pre-marriage, during marriage, for the rest of your lives, the only way he's going to have a sexual outlet is through you. And you arbitrarily decide for a couple weeks, for a couple months, for a few years, that for whatever reason, I'm not feeling it. I'm not attracted to him anymore. I don't love him anymore. I'm not this, I'm not on that. When he steps out of the relationship and he's moved away from the agreement to practice his sexual exclusivity with just you, that is cheating. But when you have an agreement that this man and you two are going to do this, and he can only get access from you, and you omit, withhold sex, especially if you weaponize it, you're being unfaithful.
Yeah.
And what if men broke up with women and girlfriends and wives when they're sexually unfaithful?
Yeah. Men even stick it out through cheating.
For more than 2 weeks. I bet the data. Yeah. And not for physical, child labor or some physical situation, just because. That's. What if men left relationships with all these women that are being sexually unfaithful? That is the equivalent for us. You are being unfaithful when you obligate this man to only come to you for sex, and he can't have access to it because you weaponized the ability for him to do it because he didn't take
That's what women do. After they get the kids, they just stop. However many kids they want, they're like, no, I'm good.
Trash. Because he didn't get the right flowers, because he wasn't romantic enough, because of this or because of that. When you're tired, your ass still go to work. When you're frustrated at work with your boss, you still respect them. You still follow the rules. You know, like in every other area of life, you figure out a way to still show up. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to this particular area, where he can't go to outside, when you don't want to cook, he can order takeout. He can order delivery. When you don't want to clean, he can hire somebody to come in and clean. But when this area that you've made that says he can only get it from you, you don't show up in, what if that's an area of unfaithfulness that's heavily contributing to this whole situation?
And I do agree with you 100% to an extent. I think 2 weeks is very dramatic. With women's hormones, like we get a little bit nuts sometimes, and that's just how we are.
I'm setting the bar high for my man.
Yeah, you are, really.
Then y'all can negotiate from there. I'm not starting it at a month. Like, 2 weeks, then we can negotiate.
Yeah,
That's
totally. Totally. What I think that is really interesting. Like, if they're like, let's say it's a month, right? Like, which I would say is a long time to not have sex with your partner. Like, I would agree that a month is a long time. Obviously, like even 2 weeks is. I also agree that that's a long time. I don't think it's a divorce reason, but I would agree it's a while. What like would you be like? Why doesn't the woman allow him to go see another woman, or why doesn't the man ask to go see another woman? Let's say a sex worker or something like that.
Because you were born in a society where monogamy and monogamous relationships are normalized. That's the only difference. And you'll be shamed by the other women if they find out something's going on.
Yeah, because if you're the girl giving your guy threesomes or giving your guy other women, your husband, like, then all the other women hate you because it's like you're offering a value add that they're not doing, and now they have to compete. It's the same reason women hate whores, because they're giving away sex easy.
You were born in a society or culture where it was very normal for a man to have a concubine or have 1 or 2 or 3 women that, sister wives or whatever. And this is normal. It's natural. It's been happening for 500 years in your culture. This wouldn't even be a conversation. So the reality is, in Western culture, as we become more individualistic, less communal, we're all about self and what we want and our desires, not even about our kids or about the man or about the family or the nuclear. This is the consequence. There's pros and cons to all of this. No matter which side of the aisle you pick, this is just the one where my interest is more so on the outcomes. Are women in mass globally in Western countries getting the outcomes they say they want?
They don't want them. They don't. If women wanted marriage and relationships, we'd do it, but we don't. We don't want it. It's like the fat person that says they want to lose weight, but they keep eating Twinkies. They want to be fat. They do.
They're unmarried and they want to be. They're single, but they don't want to be.
Women don't want to be married. We want to be side chicks. That's why we watch Scandal and not like The Good Wife or something.
They want kids, but can't find a guy to do it.
Oh, women can. Women, there's always a guy. I'll tell you what.
And they're constantly in competition and comparison mode with the women around them.
That's true.
The reality is the market's already moved in a direction where women are sharing men whether they realize it or not. You are. You're sharing when you're sharing.
Yeah, they are. You guys are sharing women too.
When he's cheating, you're sharing him. In Atlanta, Georgia. I had a woman last year. We were at a friend's house and we were all hanging out, and she was saying that the dating market is so skewed because a huge percentage of the men that go down to Atlanta and live in Atlanta are gay or bi. So the ratio of men to women.
Start dating in Atlanta, ladies. That's a great way to get AIDS. A lot of those guys go both ways.
Like heterosexual men is like 10-1. These guys are going on dates with 3 women simultaneously in Atlanta.
Wow.
Everything's out. What he got to lie for? That's not cheating, because he's in an environment where he now realizes what it is, and she realizes he needs to make, look, and be a certain level for me to be okay with something like this, and they're fine. That's actually what a lot of human history is actually resembled. The more desirable a man was in every ancient culture, was he following the rules that y'all are trying to put on men today? The equivalence.
That's why women want to ruin female beauty with tattoos, getting fat and all that stuff. It gives us more power, because if you lower the market, then every woman has more power.
Top 1% man.
That's why they tell us to shave our heads and bullshit. Men who don't pull a lot should just go on List Crawler and stop stressing. It's just my opinion. Yeah, I think so too.
You're 6 feet tall. You make 6 figures. And if you are white, black, or Hispanic, you are desired by 80% of women that's on the planet. Period. It's Asian men who struggle the most. And then when you flip it, Asian women, depending on the stat, are usually number one in most desirability globally, then white women, then Hispanic women, and then black women last. So that's the stats. That's the truth. It's not all great, but if fathers and uncles weren't welcome to give you a heads up over the last decade, you went the last decade through trial and error.
Right.
Nobody does this. Nobody was doing this historically. Trial and error, recreational sex, being liberated. Listen, you could vote, you could own a home, you could rack up a credit card if you want to. There's a lot of great things that women have gotten access to, but there were also consequences that came from it.
Of course.
I literally told you I had almost 75 women that wanted to match with me from 2 hours in one city and 30 minutes in another. Hadn't even gone through the city yet.
Great.
That's the reality of it. And guess who created that market and killed chivalry?
Ladies.
It wasn't us.
And now it's going to get better for you fellas. Guys, if you want young hot punani, become a YouTuber, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate. I'm not saying it's all good, because if you got pissed off women, they can also ruin your life. But yeah, that is the ultimate thing, you know.
It wasn't us. Like there was an era.
Yeah.
Where I had to do and own and have so much to even be at a space where I could approach your parents. And if you're going decade after decade, experiencing, is it making you healthier, whole?
Pearl, I found you at 20. Your hard truths woke me up, but I didn't take it personally. I prepped, got on his program, and now at 22, I have a man I respect dearly. Thank you. Thanks, lovely D. That's always nice to hear. Can you text me, if there's a wedding, can I get an invite? I'd really like to go. Can I be the flower girl? I've always wanted to. No, I'm too old. That's too weird. But I've always wanted to do it, you know. I've always just thought it'd be fun. I'll just go.
Or is it feel? Are you making you feel more helpless, hopeless? Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with the men? Like, that was the issue. You're.
Where'd you meet him? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. The ladies want to know where we can, you know. Put it. Yeah.
Ain't select.
And Guy Fax says, at 27, she'll be ready to move on. All right. Fine. Probably, but do you know what? I'll be hopeful for a second.
You get lucky if you find somebody.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Most people's experiences are yours, not Melanie's. Nowadays.
100%. I know. Mel is so lucky she has her husband. He's the absolute best. I'm thankfully enjoying the go through of everything. Like,
she's like, I'm getting ran through and I love it. She's loving it. She's loving getting ran through. She's ready to have this guy run through her too.
I don't have that angry woman mindset yet, maybe hopefully never, but just because I allow myself to kind of be present and allow myself to make connections organically instead of just online, and it feels a lot better. And I have a weird set of myself, so it's just I feel okay about what's happening right now. But, you know, talk to me in 5 years to see if I'm still cool and see if it's okay. Sorry, what'd you say?
Do you want kids?
See, that's still up and in the air for me. I don't.
Translation: if I find a guy that makes me want to have kids,
it'd be good either way. Like, it's not like a thing. I know some women have like a real heartbeat of I want.
Women don't want to be mothers like that.
Be a mother, as feminine as I am, I know kids are in the cards for me, and I'm totally okay with that. But that's also like I see what my life, who I would want my ideal partner to be, and that would be an older man. So there's a lot of factors that I'm going through, and I feel really sad for a lot of my young women friends who are still trying to be moms and, you know, having to feed their eggs and all of these things that are coming with that. But I also see a lot of their freedoms, obviously, like the way that they're able to make money for themselves and their families, and they're not able to be supported by a man. Like, they don't have to live with that. So there's obviously the goods and bads, and I love everything you're saying. I think it's so great to get a male perspective, especially someone who's in the US. I know you experience things a lot differently than we do up here in Canada. But it's been really great. I know we've gone a little overtime, which I love. And I really want to say, just appreciate everything you've given us. I know we've obviously talked a little bit about this. We do ask this of all of our guests that we have on this podcast. And it's just in the spirit of telling truth. What is the one truth that you would tell your younger self?
Oh my. Ooh.
Big one.
Yeah. One truth that I would have told myself. Use my 20s to be the best version of myself. Because when I hit 30, I have the freedom and flexibility to do what I want in life. I would have told myself something along those lines. I think I wouldn't have spent as much money. I don't think I would have wasted as much time. I don't think I would have been as consumed with women and distracted by women. I think I would have used my 20s way more appropriately to learn, to grow, to build, and be at a much further place financially if I had that level of focus in my 20s. Yeah.
All right, I think they're closing up this podcast. Guys, what did you think? He's coming on tomorrow, so I did this as like a I thought he was cooking. I really enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. All right, so I did see your thing about the clipper job. Okay, I thought he cooked. Had a lot of harsh truths. A lot of people aren't touching on, so I'm excited to see what his views are more in depth tomorrow. All right, so we're going through the clippers. So what happened is I have a lot of clips channels with a lot of subscribers, but they're still demonetized because we have to get the watch time. So I'm working to get them monetized, and the idea is we're going to assign them to people with 20/80 splits. So you get unlimited cap, any clips from my show, you get 20%. Okay. The challenge is I have to make sure we are sticking to guidelines, and we're open to suggestions, but we need to create a system where you cannot be downloading other people's clips, because if you're just doing like the same clip someone else is pulling, you're going to end up like getting flagged. And the other thing is you can't be doing you can't hit hate speech, so you guys can't pull any of my old stuff that would violate those guidelines, or any crazy thumbnails or titles. So I kind of tweeted about the job just to see if people would be interested in doing that, but I haven't created a system yet, and I'm just a little slow because we're moving. So you remember, still $500 super chat, and I'll tell you what stayed early, but I might announce it Friday. We'll see. But anyways, that's really all I got. If you guys could like the video, that'd be amazing. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell, or not. If you can, donate to the divorce documentary, and apply on pearlinvite.com to be a part of our community.